The Judge Who Raised a Monster, a true crime story. Linda Harris was known for being strict but fair. She was a respected judge who always showed up early, never missed a day in court, and lived by a strong routine. But on September 14th, 2012, something felt off. Her courtroom seat was empty. A bailiff knocked on her office door. No answer. Calls went to voicemail. Eventually, her hearings were canceled. People were worried, but no one imagined the worst just yet. By noon, a fellow judge drove by Linda's house. The porch light was still on, the curtains were shut, and mail was piling up by the door. She had never missed court in 18 years. That wasn't like her. Inside her home, Linda was found lying face down on her bedroom floor, still wearing the robe she used to wear for her morning coffee. Her body was cold. Bruises marked her skin. There were signs of a violent death, but strangely, no signs of a break-in. No broken windows, no loud struggle, just silence. Linda Harris wasn't just a judge. She was also a mother. The only person living with her was her grown son, Marcus Harris. Marcus had always been the quiet one, a good student, smart. He had been raised by Linda alone, and everyone thought they were very close. She had given him everything she never had: a stable home, good schools, a future. But behind the scenes, Marcus was different. Old friends remembered his strange mood swings. Sometimes he'd snap without warning. He once broke a neighbor's car window over an argument. Another time, he injured a classmate during a fight. And there was a notebook filled with hateful rants about women, teachers, and authority. Linda never spoke of those things. Maybe she didn't know. Maybe she didn't want to. When Marcus went to college, he pulled away. He stopped calling home. He disappeared for days. He became more isolated, spending time on disturbing corners of the internet. By early 2012, he had dropped out and moved back home. But he was no longer the bright, promising young man people remembered. That summer, tension grew inside the house. Linda had just finished a tough trial involving gang members. She looked fine at work, but at home, something was off. Marcus barely spoke. He stayed locked in his room. When he did talk, his words were short and cold. Then one day, Linda found out something horrifying. Her son had been accused of a violent crime months earlier. When she confronted him, what followed was unthinkable. Marcus, fearing his own mother would turn him in, attacked her. He assaulted her, then killed her, silencing the very person who had always protected him. In the end, a mother who spent her life upholding justice became a victim of the very evil she fought against. From her own son, the judge who knew the truth. Too late. It was early August when something changed. Around 6 a.m., Judge Linda Harris was walking through the courthouse like she always did, focused, composed, professional. Then a fellow prosecutor pulled her aside, not to talk about work, but something personal. He hesitated, then told her plainly, "There's a case from July. A 19-year-old college girl reported being sexually assaulted at a party. She named Marcus Harris as the man who did it." Linda froze. Marcus was her son. She didn't cry, didn't speak. Her hands shook, but her voice stayed steady. She simply nodded, turned, and went back to her chambers. Once she shut the door, the weight of the moment crashed down. She waited until that night to bring it up. They sat at the kitchen table, like they used to when he was younger, and got caught sneaking out. Only this time was different. Linda asked him directly. Marcus didn't even flinch. "She's lying," he said coldly. "You know how girls like that are." Linda blinked. "Girls like what?" she asked. "They sleep with you, then claim it was rape if you don't text back," he said, shrugging. But it wasn't just what he said. It was how he said it. The coldness in his voice, the way he showed no shame, no fear, no guilt. It made her stomach turn. She told him to leave the table. Then she sat there in silence for hours, staring into the darkness. At work, she kept her calm. No one could see the storm behind her eyes. But at home, something inside her began to shift. She started watching Marcus differently, noticed how he never left his phone unattended, how his laptop was always locked. She spotted bruises on his hands and how angry he got when she asked where he'd been. She knew something was wrong, and the girl who reported him, she never took back her statement. But Marcus wasn't charged either. The case just stalled. No witnesses, no hard evidence, just silence. Linda had seen cases like this before, too many, and now for the first time, she had to wonder, had her own son become the kind of man she spent her life sending to prison? She couldn't go to the police, not yet, so she did the only thing she could. Quietly, she started keeping track, checking when he left and came home. She even searched his room when he was out. At first, nothing, but then she found something chilling, a pile of printed-out forum pages, angry messages about women, rants about false accusations, sick theories about power and control, and in red ink, names circled. One of them was the girl who had filed the July report. Linda's heart dropped. She knew, but she didn't turn him in, because she wasn't just a judge. She was his mother. And sometimes even the strongest mothers can't act fast enough, especially when the threat wears their child's face. That week, she made a quiet decision. She started collecting evidence against her own son. September 13th was a Thursday. Linda showed up to court at 7:45 a.m., wearing a navy blue suit and her favorite brooch. She handled 2 family custody cases and a hearing before lunch. To everyone she passed, she looked like her usual self, calm, focused, in control. But that evening, she stayed behind long after the courtroom emptied. No one knows what she was reviewing, but the janitor later said she looked deeply troubled. She left around 10 p.m. Marcus showed up at the house not long after. He hadn't been staying there regularly, but that night he returned. What happened between them during those final hours remains a mystery. But neighbors later remembered hearing arguing, muffled at first, then sharp. Glass breaking, a loud thud. No one called the police. People assume things. It's just family, they think, not their business. By 2 a.m., everything went quiet again. The next morning, Linda's car was still in the driveway, porch light still on. A neighbor walking her dog noticed the blinds were crooked, as if they'd been pulled hard. But nothing looked broken. From the outside, all seemed normal. Inside, it was anything but. The living room was a mess, a lamp broken, cushions tossed around. In the hallway, shattered glass led to the bedroom. And there on the floor was Linda. Her robe was torn. Her body showed signs of a brutal struggle. What was done to her, both before and after she died, was horrifying. A woman who spent her life standing for justice, silenced in her own home. By mid-morning on September 14th, when Linda didn't show up for court, alarms were raised. She'd never been late in 18 years. Her clerk drove by around 11 a.m., hoping to see her car gone. It wasn't. Same spot, same light on. By noon, a welfare check was requested. 2 officers arrived. The house was locked. But inside, they found the truth. There were no broken locks, no smashed windows, no alarm blaring when the officers arrived. But the moment they stepped inside Linda Harris's home, they knew something awful had taken place. The living room looked frozen in the middle of chaos. A torn-open cushion lay scattered on the floor like it had been ripped apart in anger. A coffee mug lay shattered beside the couch, dried liquid pooled beneath it. The only sound was the steady hum of the fridge. Everything else was still. In the bedroom, they found her. Linda was lying on her side, body curled up like she'd tried to protect herself from what was coming. Her face was swollen and bruised, and there were deep marks around her neck. But the worst part, what truly disturbed the investigators, was what had happened after she died. Her robe was twisted, one arm pinned awkwardly behind her. Her face was twisted too, locked in pain and fear. Forensics arrived before dark. They combed through the home, room by room, dusting, photographing, collecting what they could. And a single truth began to form. This wasn't a robbery. It wasn't random. Whoever did this knew Linda. There were fingerprints everywhere, on the bedroom door, the nightstand, the closet handle, mixed with Linda's own. They belonged to Marcus Harris, her son. That night, police named Marcus as a person of interest, but behind the scenes, they were already certain. This wasn't just a crime of opportunity. They believed Marcus had meant to kill his mother, and soon something hidden in the house would support that fear. A seasoned forensic psychologist, Dr. Tessa Moore, later reviewed the scene. Her conclusion? This wasn't just murder. It was personal. The kind of rage you don't feel toward a stranger. This was about control, humiliation, punishment. And in a corner of Linda's bedroom closet, under a loose floorboard, one officer found something deliberately hidden, a blood-stained hoodie. Marcus's, in the pocket, a flash drive. That wasn't all. In Linda's nightstand, tucked behind books and photo albums, they found a leather notebook. Her journal. The entries started months earlier. "He's changed," she wrote on July 9th. "I don't know when or how, but he's not the same boy I raised." Her words painted a picture of growing fear. She wrote about hearing things at night, feeling uneasy, how he lied, boldly, easily. What kind of man hates women like this? She wondered. Where did he learn it? But it was her last entry that stopped the lead investigator cold. September 10th. "I met with Rosenthal today. He's going to help me file the report. Monday I'll submit everything I have. The writings, chat logs, even the file from the summer." Linda had been preparing to turn her son in, to submit evidence she had quietly gathered. She had confided in a civil attorney, scheduled a meeting, and was ready to act. But she never made it to Monday. By the time Marcus was named the prime suspect in Judge Linda Harris's murder, he was already missing. A neighbor saw him walking down the street late the night before. Hoodie up, hands in pockets, moving fast. Hours later, surveillance showed him at an ATM 3 blocks away, withdrawing just under $500. He kept his head down, but the hoodie matched the one found in the house. That was 12:18 a.m. By 1:05, his car was parked in a downtown garage. Keys still inside. No rideshare. No bus. He was gone. For 3 days, the city waited. Flyers went up. His photo was everywhere, but nothing came in. It was like Marcus had vanished, until someone from his past came forward. Anthony Price had known Marcus for years. Childhood friends, played ball, same junior college. They hadn't spoken in a while, but on Sunday night, Anthony got a call from an unknown number. The voice was shaky, but familiar. Marcus. He said he hadn't meant to do it, said he just lost it, that his mom had chosen her career over him, like he wasn't even her son anymore. Then he hung up. The phone was traced to a cheap burner bought at a gas station. It was never used again. Still, that call told investigators everything they needed to know. Marcus hadn't just fled. He believed his mother betrayed him, and he wanted to make her pay. When they checked his laptop, found in his dorm, they unlocked something chilling. It was full of disturbing content, message boards, screenshots from anonymous sites, rants about women in power, conspiracies, and deep resentment toward authority. He had draft emails he never sent, blaming the world, blaming his mother, blaming the justice system. One sentence stood out. "She stopped being my mom the moment she put the badge before blood. And then, if she wants justice, she can have it, just not the way she thinks." Dr. Moore, who read Marcus's writings and examined the scene, offered a haunting profile. He showed traits of covert narcissism, someone who hides deep insecurity behind a false image of being misunderstood. When that image cracked, when his mother saw through him, challenged him, he didn't just lash out. He tried to take back control in the most violent, personal way. Marcus didn't kill his mother in the heat of the moment. He made a calculated decision, cold, emotional, final. Despite everything they had, fingerprints, Linda's journal, the hoodie, and even what Marcus admitted to Anthony, there was still one thing missing: a confession. Investigators needed to hear Marcus say it himself. They needed him to explain, in his own words, why he killed the woman who gave him everything. But even after they found him, even after he was locked up, Marcus Harris stayed silent. 6 weeks had passed since Linda Harris was murdered when U.S. Marshals finally tracked Marcus down. He was hiding under the name Devin James, renting a shabby room in a rundown boarding house. He'd nearly slipped away until a liquor store clerk spotted his fake ID and recognized his face from a recent news report. The clerk called the police. When they arrested him, Marcus didn't resist. He didn't say a word, just stood there, cold, blank. When Richmond detectives arrived to question him, he kept that same distant attitude. No panic, no emotion. He sat in the interview room, arms folded, eyes locked on the wall, and repeated the same line. I wasn't there. I don't know what you're talking about. Somebody's trying to set me up. The detectives weren't surprised by the denial. What shocked them was how long he kept up the act. Hours passed. Still nothing. No anger. No cracks. Until Detective Karen Reed laid Linda's journal on the table. Marcus didn't touch it, just stared, like it was toxic. Then his hands began to tremble. He leaned forward and muttered, "She turned on me first. She was supposed to be my mother." Then he looked up, his voice sharp, his expression bitter. You don't know what it's like when the one person who's supposed to believe in you starts seeing you like a criminal. Detective Reed later said he never cried, not even when she told him that Linda had left him everything in her will, her home, her savings. She never gave up on him, not even after all the fear, the suspicion, not even in the end. The trial of Commonwealth versus Marcus Harris began on a rainy spring morning. The courtroom was packed, cameras outside. The public wanted answers. How could the son of a respected judge do something so horrific? Marcus sat quietly in a blue suit that didn't quite fit. He didn't look at the jury, didn't react to the crime scene photos of his mother's bruised body, her blood, her bedroom. One by one, women from his past testified. Old girlfriends said he could be sweet until he felt rejected or disrespected. Then he changed. One woman, Kayla Moore, said he called her names when she refused to sleep with him. Told her she was just like his mother, cold, judgmental, fake. Another woman broke down on the stand. She remembered the night Marcus punched a wall during an argument and stood over her in silence while she cried. These weren't just red flags. They were warning signs no one had acted on. Then came Linda's friends. Her best friend, Darlene Brooks, could barely speak as she read Linda's final message. I think Marcus is in real trouble. I don't want to believe what I'm starting to feel. Some jurors looked away. Others clenched their jaws. Prosecutors detailed the timeline, the evidence, the motive. They showed how Marcus refused to be held accountable, how his mother, a woman who lived for justice, tried to do the right thing even when it meant risking everything. Marcus never testified, but on the final day, just before sentencing, he stood up. And what he said shocked the room. What exactly he said was never publicly released, but those in the courtroom said it was chilling. The jury took only 4 hours. Marcus Harris was found guilty of first-degree murder and aggravated rape. The courtroom was silent as the verdict was read. Marcus didn't blink, didn't flinch. The judge sentenced him to life without parole. No appeals, no second chances. He'd spend the rest of his life behind bars. And the woman who gave him everything, her love, her trust, her home, would be forever out of reach. At sentencing, Linda Harris's family stood strong, though their hearts were broken. Her younger sister Elaine stepped up to speak. Linda dedicated her life to the law. She believed in fairness, even when it came to her own son. She gave him everything, and in the end, she gave her life. The judge, an old colleague of Linda's, fought back tears. Judge Harris wasn't just a brilliant legal mind. She was a symbol of integrity and compassion. We lost more than a judge. We lost a mother who never stopped believing her son could be saved. Linda's legacy didn't end with her death. Within 6 months, her former colleagues launched the Judge Linda Harris Memorial Scholarship, helping young women enter the field of criminal justice. Her home, once a crime scene, is now a legal aid center for women in crisis. It offers shelter, advice, and hope. Her former law clerk, now a public defender, visits often. She says Linda's presence is still felt. She believed in justice so deeply. She died for it. And still, justice found her in the end. This story is more than just a tragedy. It's a reminder of the strength it takes to do what's right, especially when love makes it hardest. So what would you do if someone you love did the unthinkable? Would you protect them or turn them in? Let us know in the comments. And if this story moved you, share it. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to never miss another unforgettable case. Closing remark. As we reflect on the tragic story of Judge Linda Harris and her son Marcus, we're reminded that justice is often born through pain, and truth can be a double-edged sword. Linda's unwavering commitment to justice, even when it meant confronting her own child, is a legacy that will never be forgotten. May her story continue to inspire strength, accountability, and hope for those navigating the darkest moments of their lives. Vote of thanks. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to everyone who took the time to engage with this story. Thank you to the legal professionals, researchers, and victim advocates whose work made this retelling possible. Your dedication helps keep the memory of victims alive and ensures that justice is never just a word, it's a promise. To our audience, thank you for listening, for thinking deeply, and for being part of a community that seeks the truth, no matter how difficult. Disclaimer. This content is based on real events and has been carefully adapted for educational, informational, and awareness purposes. While certain details have been simplified or dramatized for clarity and narrative flow, the core facts remain accurate to the public record. Viewer discretion is advised due to sensitive subject matter. The story is not intended to glorify crime or violence, but to honor victims and shed light on the complexities of justice, family, and consequence. Until next time, stay aware and stay safe.